Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to City Hall in person. From the outset, well, first of all, my name's Nicholas Blendy. I'm the board's Deputy Executive Secretary. From the outset, the note that the requirement for the room is that you must be wearing a mask, because if you're not wearing a mask, then we have to set up socially distanced seating according to the rules of City Hall. When you come up, if you come up to testify, you can remove your mask if that is more comfortable at the time. So, with all that said, getting that out of the way, good morning. Welcome to the April 28th, 2022 hearing of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. Today's docket is all protests of renewal. Every licensee has been properly served and summoned to appear today, and we will begin with the first case, which is scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. So today's first case, licensee Mohammed Manoche, Fisherman's Wharf Inner Harbor Incorporated, trading as Moe's Fisherman's Wharf. Licensed premises are located at 219 President Street, and licensee holds a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. And Mr. Kadensky, you are counsel.
Yes,
Floor is yours.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, representing the licensee.
Good morning. Is there someone who's going to take primary role as spokesperson for the petitioners? Why don't you come up, sir, and identify yourself for the record, please.
Is your microphone on?
My name is Dan, and my last name is Sutherland Weiser.
Yes, sir.
Little Italy resident.
Just stay there for a minute. I want to make sure this is working. It's not working?
See the light on.
And I apologize. I wear hearing aids, and I couldn't hear you with the mask and a non-working
Yes.
microphone.
Does anyone object if I take this off while I speak? I'll try to be cautious about it.
Okay.
It is difficult to hear people, especially at our advanced ages, some of us, with the mask on. Tell me again your name, sir.
My name is Dan, and my last name is Sutherland Weiser. Combined last name.
Mr. Sutherland Weiser, Mr. Kadensky filed a motion to dismiss this petition, and because there's no counsel representing the other side, there was no certificate of service attached to his motion, which would have provided notice to the petitioners. So rather than rule on it, I asked that the staffs provide you with a copy of it yesterday so that you'd be aware of it coming in here today. I'm reserving on his motion so that we can hear from you, but these issues that he raises are critical to us because we're guided by statute, and the statute requires certain things threshold things be met in order for a petition to go forward. So I'm going to let him state his case for a minute, and then I'm going to call on you, okay?
Thank you very much. And we have several members who would like to
Yes,
speak.
that's fine. As long as, I'm happy to hear from people. I just don't want to have a lot of redundant testimony. So if people are going to say the same thing and they just want to show their support, they can merely say, we agree, and I don't have to hear it over and over again, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'd ask that the motion to dismiss be made part of the record, subject to you reserving on Mr. Chairman.
That's fine, Mr. Kennedy.
Later on. And basically, what I'm no stranger to this, but it seems to me that since it's a livelihood of a place that's been there for a long, long time, that when you have a petition that states that there's open-air drug dealing, illegal gambling, and street gun battles, we know about the one that took place in March, but without the lack of specificity as to date, times, and places, and the nexus and the connection to the licensee, I think it's a little bit disingenuous that that would be something other than it's alarming, and we'll understand what's going on down, and I don't have to belabor what happened yesterday on Claremont Avenue. You know, Mr. Petro, God rest his soul, if he would have lived on Claremont Avenue, I'm sure he would have had a fit. But to lay that at the foot of the licensee without any specificities, daytime places for him to go ahead and reply to it, we have some testimony as to the one event that took place outside, and also attaching all kinds of comments that I think are hyperbole on the thing about people's comments. I'll rest with that.
Let me try to find out what's going on, okay? So we appreciate it. So, sir, if you come back up. I don't know what your background is, but let me just explain a little bit what due process requires here. So the statute requires that within the previous year there be an incident that would be the basis for your petition. and that in order to give them proper notice so they can defend, they'd like to know what those incidents are and when they took place and what you're alleging. And for us, what's important to know is what the connection is between some untoward event and the licensees. So if you can inform us a bit about all that, we'd appreciate hearing.
Mr. Chair, before you do that, I believe any witnesses need to be sworn.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Can we have to have you sworn in, sir? So if you raise your right hand, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I do.
help you?
And thank you. So
Again, my name is Dan Sutherland Weiser. I'm a Little Italy resident. I happen to be the president of the Little Italy Neighborhood Association, and I say just happen to be because I'm not representing just the Little Italy Neighborhood Association. The community, the many different organizations in Little Italy agree that we have a problem that's at Moe's Seafood. We believe there's been a pattern of illegal activity surrounding and in Moe's. And we have tried numerous times to come to an agreement, MOU, that could stem some of those problems, and I feel like we've been met with a stone wall.
have we been involved in that process? Has our Matt Ockheimer been involved?
Matt has been involved and has been at some of our meetings, certainly recently, especially also, yes.
But the licensees have not attended, or what?
I'm sorry?
You say the licensees do not attend the meeting?
They've been invited to attend.
But have they attended?
They attended our last meeting about a week and a half ago. Well, two gentlemen attended.
Okay. So what do you...
Came up to me afterwards, unfortunately, so the meeting was over.
So tell us what the problems are. Obviously, there are problems in the community that may be police-related problems, not that we're unaware of them or happy about them, but they may not be under our purview. But there may be management problems at the place. There may be other things that are within our purview. So can you...
Right, and if you'd like, I can speak to that, or I'd really like to turn to some of the people who...
Well, if there are people who have personal knowledge, you might call them up and we can swear them in.
I would,
Okay.
and first I would like to call on Maggie Master, who is the Chief of Staff for Councilmember Cohen.
That's fine.
Major Smith from the Baltimore Police Department has said he'll be here. I'm not sure if he has arrived.
But whoever's here, let's bring that person up.
But Maggie, if you can join us first. Thank you.
Morning, ma'am. We have to swear you in, okay?
Okay.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you?
I do. Good morning, Board. As Dan mentioned, my name is Maggie Master. I am the Chief of Staff for Councilmember Zeke Cohen of the 1st District. He unfortunately had a longstanding engagement today, and so I am coming in his place. And I would like to name for the record that Councilmember Cohen submitted into evidence a letter of concern related to this license renewal. Councilmember Cohen stands in strong solidarity with the community related to the myriad of issues that the community has voiced related to public safety and public health. Obviously, first and foremost of those is the homicide on March 12th. There have been other examples of gun violence involving shots fired that were lodged into an apartment across the street from the establishment. There have been numerous traffic violations that, while not, it sounds as though all captured on 311, I know have been captured in video evidence by neighbors. And also, as Dan mentioned, sightings of dice games and other loud behavior outside of the establishment. It is Councilmember Cohen's strong position that the business must work with its neighbors to solve this issue and get to a place where both this business and the community can thrive. I just want to mention two other things. One is that what we are taking away from, I think, the results of this, that the prelude to this is that there is some discrepancy between 311 and 911 evidence and call logs that seem to not match what we are hearing from community members about the number of people and times that individuals have called 311 and 911 to place calls of concern about some of these behaviors. And so one thing following this conversation that we plan to do is just really follow back up with both BCIT and with BPD to sort of understand the nature of those discrepancies, because the volume of calls is not commensurate with what the neighbors have voiced that they have actually called to log those concerns.
Yeah, I don't believe that all 311 calls come to the liquor board. So,
No.
So we have a record of 7 during this period
Right.
on this establishment, but
Right.
there may have been 311 calls going to other agencies throughout the city.
Yes, and we have asked for all of those, and as mentioned, they don't seem commensurate. And finally, just want to name that, as mentioned, Lieutenant Marino from BPD is also coming and is being held up by traffic, but would also like to testify to some of the events from the last year.
Anything further?
No.
Can you stand just a minute? Mr. Kadensky, you have questions for the witness?
Very, very briefly, you or Councilman Cohen ever talked to the licensee?
Yes, Councilmember Cohen spoke to the members of the licensees team
Last week,
also at the neighborhood association.
which were, I think was, everyone. And besides that, the councilman's area includes Fells Point, Highlandtown, Broadway, where there have been numerous shootings, murders, and so forth. Does he take the same position with those murders that took place?
Yes, in various, where we've seen the most success in community disputes with establishments that have a liquor license, it has been the strong collaboration with the community and our office and the business to create an MOU with the community that seeks to solve these concerns. And we have precedent of that.
And you'd be willing to follow up and do that?
Absolutely.
In this case here. And along with it, other than you're basically following along with the community, it said you don't have any personal knowledge of any of these events you're talking about.
Neither myself nor Councilmember Cohen has been there at the time of these events.
And then along, would it surprise you, some of the 311, and I see that you're looking at them right now, a lot of them were people are calling in complaints, and then the inspectors go out there and they show that they're unfounded. Did that surprise you?
I think it would not surprise me if the events were fast-moving and, an individual was no longer there by the time the call response came in.
There's some in there, they're calling about, noise or things, but when they're getting there, so everything was, the inspectors put in, it's unfounded on the thing. And as far as this particular establishment, you personally, or does Mr. Cohen, Councilman Cohen, know how long this place has been there? It's been there for a good while.
Yes.
He was probably born, but it's a long time. I have no further questions.
Okay.
I just have one question. So in the councilman's letter, makes reference to the behavior.
Chairman, we never got that letter.
Somehow, we have it. I don't know. I'm happy to share it with you.
Yeah, like I said, we asked for the file, and then we don't get it, it's hard for me to.
Can you loan him your copy? Give Mr. Kadensky a chance to take a look at this. Okay. I just wanted to ask a general question. So he references the behavior of customers exiting Lowe's and the way they behave with their cars and on the streets and whatever in the neighborhood. When you've dealt with establishments in the past and tried to work something out with them, how do you address that issue?
Of the
behavior outside the place once people leave the place when they're not any longer under the direction of the licensees?
I think we have done a variety of things in those MOUs. They can involve having additional security outside of the establishment, cameras, and also in some cases considering hours of the establishment, and then also just working in partnership with DOT to ensure, and parking to make sure that if there are, in cases where this is, I think, a little bit different than some of the examples we've had where some of the video footage we've received is, cars going down sort of the wrong direction, et cetera. But in cases where it's been largely parking violations, we've been working with parking enforcement, obviously, to sort of ensure that there's a heavy presence.
Okay. Ms. Kadensky, having read the letter, do you have any other questions?
It was written April 25th.
Yeah.
I mean, take it for what it's.
Well, it doesn't cite any specific incidents. I understand that.
But sometimes I get things come in that I'd like to have them. There's a big parking garage right up the street on the corner, isn't there?
I believe so.
Okay. So, I mean, there is parking there. It's probably half a block from most, correct? Okay. I mean, people may not choose not to park there, understand that.
Sure.
Okay.
I think Commissioner Greenfield had a question.
Ms. Master, thank you for your engagement on this. I can tell from the record that you've been involved. I guess my question is, the councilman's letter suggests that there should be an MOU instead of a non-renewal. Is that accurate?
I think his position is that, given the fact that this is, we have not actually had a sit-down, we have not been able to get the owner to the table with community, that would be sort of the first preference before an outright non-renewal, to actually have them work with the community directly on an MOU.
Okay. So, as you know, what's before us is whether to renew or not renew. And so we have a very limited ability to, we can't condition a renewal on an MOU. So it puts us in a weird position. And so I just want to better understand his position, which appears to be, at this time, suggesting further discussion between both sides to reach an amicable MOU, which is something obviously this board promotes.
I believe that is the case, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Mr. Kadensky, may I ask you a question? So I anticipate that if we call other members of the community, the neighborhood, that they're going to mirror a lot of Ms. Masters' testimony about the behavior of customers in the neighborhood that they're not happy with and whatever. The suggestion is that there be some agreement. As Commissioner says, we can't compel that, but we can certainly, if we do renew, indicate that if they violate, and they haven't done that, we can come back and revoke the license.
And what you're saying is what they were chatting about before you came in here, and you reported that they were talking about possibly having additional security, independent security. They tentatively agreed to that, having better security cameras available for the city. There was some discussion about hours, but that's been, that's about where it stopped. So I don't think that they're adverse to having any of the meetings, but they have to be, something they can get together with. And I think, where's Matt? Matt was in
He's
one-
here, I
No,
believe.
he's back there.
But before and we want Matt to be involved, but sir, can I ask you a question? Yes. I'm going to call you Dan if you don't mind. It's easier for me. If you come up to the microphone. So, am I correct in anticipating that that's going to be the tenor of the testimony generally? That is the control over the people exiting the place and the times of the night when they're doing it and the behavior outside of the place?
I would say that it is correct that the residents who are in the vicinity of Moe's have observed and recorded and been outside when there are illegal activity going on. We have a gentleman here who was there standing over the body on the night of the murder. So yes.
But you're not alleging that they murdered anybody?
Absolutely not.
Right, okay.
Additionally, Major Smith, of course, again, I don't think if he's here yet, but at one of our recent monthly meetings for Little Italy Neighborhood Association, the Baltimore Police Department said that Moe's is a known hangout for drug dealers. Now, we can't get into all the investigations. We know that a lot of that's private, but I think that carries a lot of weight.
And of course, they haven't brought that to us. So it would be the first we would be hearing of it.
We do have, so yes, answering your question directly, the testimony from the residents in the neighborhood would be as you would phrase it, speaking
So if we were to strongly encourage that there be a long sit-down, could you provide Mr. Kadensky with a list of your issues so that he knows and can talk with his clients ahead of time and they can come up with some ideas about how to address them? I think, in my experience, a lot of times negotiations fail because of lack of notice on each side of what you're talking about. And there's often more talking, or everyone says the same thing, but they have to all say it, which lengthens everything. But putting that aside, if you could give them an idea of what the most critical issues are, and if they would tell us today that they'd be willing to do that, we will engage Mr. Ockheimer with everybody promptly and see if we can't bring some resolution to these problems, because we don't want them either. Right. And I don't think the licensees want to be blamed for everything that's going on if they have a way of controlling it. So
I would love to be able to readily agree with you. However, our history has shown that our attempts to sit down and have an MOU have failed because people don't show up on their side. They're canceled at the last minute. And the only time we've really been able to meet was 15 minutes ago, and it delayed this meeting by 10 minutes.
I would suggest that you have an agreement with Mr. Kadensky before you leave here today as to when that meeting would take place. And with our strong encouragement that it take place, I can promise you that we will not look with favor on any violation that is brought to us when they don't do what we ask them to do.
I guess our concern there is waiting another year.
Oh, no. If they violate any of our rules and regulations in any way, and it's brought to us, it could come back as soon as next month, and we can suspend or revoke their license. So they know when we say that we want this done, that we mean we want it done.
So, to make sure I understand clearly, if we were to walk out of here today with an agreement that there will be a serious meeting about an MOU, and that did not come to fruition,
And they serve a minor next week, and they come back in front of us, and they tell us they didn't bother to do what we suggested. I can't speak for the other commissioners. I would not be happy.
we would not, but we could come back in less than a year and discuss this again. So I certainly would like to,
So why don't you all take some time and talk?
in a moment.
And we'll call our second case. Well, poor Mr. Kadensky has the second case, so I have to
Right.
give him
You
a
can't
break.
speak for him.
But then,
Can we just make sure that
They are. Please. Would you
we
mind-
have some time before we call the second case anyway.
Would you
so-
mind if the Baltimore Police Department addresses the?
Not at all.
Thank you, the board.
And we'll give you a few minutes before we call the second case. But you may want to talk to your clients.
You may want to hear the.
Please come up, officer.
Excuse me, the board, I didn't bring a mask, I apologize. This was,
Okay.
was advised to come here last minute and stuff to represent Major Smith.
Okay, we need to swear you in. We need to swear you in, please.
Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you?
Yes.
Thank you.
And state your name, please, for the record.
Christopher Marino, Lieutenant Christopher Marino.
Lieutenant, okay, what did you want to tell us?
Just basically, I'm a shift commander for the Southeast District. I worked at Charlie shift, which is the 3 to 11 shift, whereas we get most of our problematic crime within that time frame. Just the issues that we've been having with Moe's is we've been having a lot of gambling calls, a lot of gambling right behind Moe's. They have a small alley there. I guess when they're waiting for their tables and stuff like that, they go back there and gamble and stuff like that. So we've received a lot of numerous calls from the community members in reference to gambling, loud music outside of the restaurant, right on the street right there.
Music emanating from the restaurant or something?
No, music from the vehicles. From the vehicles, I guess, that are parked there waiting, again, to be seated and stuff like that. Fights, a lot of arguments, a lot of fights break out throughout the whole night. You know, most of the patrons are coming from the restaurant. And then, obviously, this year we've had 2 shootings in the area there. So it's just giving a testimony in reference to the incidents that have occurred within my time frame there.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, do you have any questions for the lieutenant?
Okay, so your area, southeastern covers Fells Point also, right?
Yes, sir.
So are there problems in Fells Point also?
Yeah, absolutely,
All
sir.
right. And there are problems up in the Highlandtown area?
Yes, sir.
You said 2 this week?
Yep,
All right.
yes, sir.
And there are generally problems throughout the whole city.
Absolutely, sir.
And as far as you talk about gambling, have you made any arrests that could be directly attributable for people from Moe's?
No, we can't make any arrests for gambling. We have a protocol that we follow in reference to that, so.
So you can't make any arrests because it's not illegal, or it's illegal and they won't let you do it?
It is illegal, but our policies now, we have a less intrusive method in approaching gambling calls and stuff like that, so that's what we take,
So there's something other than an arrest.
other than arrests.
You don't leave it unaddressed, right?
We don't leave it unaddressed, no. We walk around with turn body worn cameras on. We have the LPR vehicles drive up and down. We try to engage the individuals that are gambling, try to tell them, hey, could you please stop, whatever. So that's the approach we take. If it continues, then we can take other measures and
And the
stuff.
same thing, how about, you're saying about drug sales, has anybody been arrested for a drug sale that was directly attributable?
I would have to get the data from our drug team if they have made any arrests in that area, sir.
Would someone from your organization, from the Baltimore City Police Department, be willing to participate in this meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one question. Lieutenant, I know there's a lot of coordination between the police department and the liquor board. What level of coordination has there been about this establishment?
The establishment, I can't go too into it as far as from my own knowledge. I know that I see John a lot from the liquor board, and they'll go in there, they'll do inspections and stuff like that. We'll call them out there, and basically they'll go in and do an inspection. It's all that we really use them for and stuff like that. As far as any enforcements, I don't know, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to get a sense of what you see may not be what our inspectors see on a consistent basis, and it would just be helpful to make sure that that line of communication exists about, with respect to this establishment. Clearly, there's some issues going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our record, the last time that they were violated for violating one of our rules was in March of 2018. So that's a long time ago, if there's that much difficulty going on around there. So
Right.
we aren't on notice of it, and they're not on notice from us of a problem until something like this occurs. So it would be good if the community could get together, the police's assistance with our assistance, and try to come to some resolution how to enhance security and other things around the establishment and make the neighborhood safer. So
Absolutely, sir.
Can I just ask one question? Because do you have a list of known drug dealers in your department?
We do, yes.
Do you ever provide that to any of the licensees? Because for the longest time, I've been trying to get them to give it, so if you have known drug dealers and they frequent the Horseshoe because they want to wash their money, do you ever give it to them so they can say, here comes so-and-so in here when he shouldn't be in here?
No, I wouldn't know.
I know they don't do it.
Yeah, that I wouldn't know how that would work as far as the law or
They won't do
or
it, that's all.
being allowed
Thank
to
you.
provide information like that.
yeah, okay. So we're going to take a brief recess and let you all talk for a few minutes, see if you can work something out, and then we'll come back for the next case, okay? Thank you. Mr. Blendy, will you recall the case, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Recalling the 10 a.m. case before the board, licensee Mohammed Manoche, Fisherman's Wharf Inner Harbor Incorporated, trading as Moe's Fisherman's Wharf. Premises are located at 219 President Street. Licensee holds a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license.
I think we had talked, and I think the date that we agreed on is May 24th at 6 p.m., and I think we're going to go to the Order Sons of Italy Hall. That way it won't be...
And they're going to provide you with a list of things they want to discuss?
Yeah, you can. You got my card. Just email me some things, and I'll sit down with them and see if we can give you that. I'll give the councilman's office too. Let's see if he can come over. He will. Okay.
Okay, and that would be good, and we'll have Mr. Ockheimer involved as well, and the police said that they would be willing to be
I asked him.
part
He
of
said
it.
he would come.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
My question is, it was just a statement that was made prior to the recess. I just want to make sure, again, that we clarify. We've been concerned because these meetings have been set up in the past, and they either nothing's happened or they're not serious.
I heard you, yeah.
And you mentioned that you would not look kindly on that.
Right.
But we wanted to clarify that even sans a violation, that if there was not a serious meeting of the minds, that we could come back.
Yeah, so we have to deal with the businesses before us first. So today we're here on a protest of renewal, so we have to rule on that, and then I'm going to get to your issue, okay? So I don't believe, based on the evidence that's been proffered in this case, that there is sufficient evidence, and based on the record, which shows no violations over the past 3 years, that there would be an adequate evidentiary basis to revoke the license today. So I would allow this license to be renewed. I deny the motion to dismiss, but I allow the license to be renewed. On the other hand, it's very clear there are problems that require security better, stricter management and everything else at this facility. In the event that we violate you, your people had better have these things in place. I want to state for myself that I very strongly admonish them to work out an MOU with the community organizations, no matter how long it takes, starting with this May 24th meeting. If it can't be done, get in touch with our liquor board and we'll see what we can do about that. But I don't want to hear that it can't be done. So that's my ruling. The other commissioners have to rule. Commissioner Greenfield.
Yes, so I would concur with the chairman. I would too deny the motion to dismiss. And I don't find sufficient evidence in the past license year to substantiate a non-renewal. Clearly, there are significant issues here, and the police have been on notice. The liquor board staff is now on notice, and if they haven't before, and I'm sure they have. And I, again, would concur with the chairman that if both sides don't operate here in good faith and they come back before us, I think there could be some real issues. So with that, I again would approve the renewal. Leave it at that.
Commissioner Reisinger?
Yes. I also concur with the chair and the other commissioner that listening to both sides, that there's been a communication issue and management issue, and it's been before the board now. And I also hope that both sides could sit down and work this out, and so they don't have to come back to us. If they do, this board's aware of the situation. And so, based on the evidence and testimony provided today, I agree with the chair and vote to renew the license.
And
Right,
just
thank
for
you.
clarity, Commissioner Reisinger, I almost called you Councilman, would you vote to deny the
Yeah.
motion to
Yes,
dismiss or approve it?
I also vote to deny the request, the dismissal, request for dismissal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll take our next case. Good luck, everyone. I hope you can resolve this.
Need to call the exhibits for the record.
Yes, please. Yes.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Licensee Exhibit 1, Exhibit Packet, Community Exhibit 1 through
Good luck.
14, emails of opposition from Lisa Renati, 15, email of opposition from Carl Richmond, 16, email of opposition from Little Italy Community, 17, email of opposition, 18, letter from Councilman Cohen dated 4/25/22.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Thank you.
I got to vote for the dismissal before I do with the.
That concludes this matter before the board. The licensee will receive follow-up instructions from this agency with the results of today's proceedings.
Typically, I deal with those motions, and they don't have to go to you all, but if I do it, I usually try to do them before the hearing.
If everybody who's concluded today wouldn't mind stepping out of the room just so that the microphones might pick you up, and we have to call the next case. Thank you.
Mr. Blendy, Mr. Konecki asked for 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. The board stands in recess for 2 minutes.
Yeah, of course we are.
Is that your defense? Here's this crowd. Okay, Mr. Blendy, you may call it.
Section?
The next matter before the board today is a protest of renewal of licensee Robert Cleaves and Yogesh Kumar Prasai, Propti Deep LLC, trading as Jerry's Liquors. Premises are located at 2200 North Charles Street, and licensee holds a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license. And I believe Mr. Kadensky is counsel for the licensee.
For the record, Melvin J. Kaninsky representing the licensee.
Is there anyone here on behalf of the petitioners?
I haven't seen him.
If anyone is here on behalf of the protestants who filed the petition, please raise your hand. 2200 North Charles Street. You're going to go check, Chief?
Once again, Mr. Konecki, you filed a motion to dismiss, which I'm reserving on, but let me see if we have anyone here.
There does not appear to be anyone here, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I think I think my motion would speak for itself, just briefly for the record, and to be part of the record. One of the things that we're complaining about was a violation, which was they weren't the licensee at the time. They only been a licensee for a short period of time. The trash is not their trash. They have their own trash pickup, and they keep their trash inside, and it's picked up. So that there's apartments upstairs that belong to the landlord. And I had sent pictures of their establishment. They have no loitering signs. It looks like it's boarded up because a car went through there recently, and they're getting it fixed. Sent a petition of people who were in favor, and there's no 311 calls. And I don't know, should I bring the issue of the DocuSign? I don't know whether that's acceptable or not.
You don't need to bring it up. Mr. Kadensky, I grant your motion to dismiss, but I want to say this. In addition, the trash issue, I agree with you that it's not your people. It appears to be the other people, but it's going to be an ongoing irritation. Is there some way that it can get addressed?
Well, they were trying to talk to the landlord. Unfortunately, the landlord is one of the people who's filed a protest, so he's not trying to make it easy for him.
We've never violated your people for that, but apparently all these citations have gone through the city sanitation department.
And I don't know what, I looked them up, and they all show that they're abated. So the two that they list on there, so I don't know, I know they didn't pay them, so it must have been the landlord.
Maybe one way to cure this is for them to call it in when they see it out there and be the people who are complaining.
Well,
but I don't know.
I don't want to start.
Anyway.
I don't know what the Hatfields and the McCoys are.
Okay. Well, let me hear from the other commissioners.
No, I too would grant the motion to dismiss and would also really continue to constructively try and address the sanitation issue, just as the chairman mentioned.
Yes. The chair also agree and grant the motion for dismiss.
And I'll talk with him about those other matters. And where'd Matt go? He escaped again? I'll just put him in the loop, too.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
Michael exhibits for the record.
Please.
Licensee Exhibit 1, petition of support.
Okay.
That concludes this matter before the board. The board stands in recess until 11:30 a.m. when the next case is listed as being on the docket.
Is anyone here for the next case? Apparently not. Just Larry.
That's not just Larry.
I think we have to recognize that Larry is back.
Yes.
Oh,
But he advises me that he's been watching faithfully on Charm TV for 2 years while we've been virtual, so.
Can we get him some updated gear, please?
Yes, sir, I was told, Mr. Chair, that I have been living in his living room for 2 years, and this was my first time meeting him in person.
It's why I don't wear my pajama bottoms, because I know Larry is watching. So when we get people here for the third case, let's just call it.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. Hey, Mr. Blend, you want to call the case, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, and welcome everyone. Welcome to City Hall. Brief reminder, everyone, please keep your mask on unless you're up at the table testifying and speaking. The next item on today's April 28th, 2022 docket of protest of renewal is the 11:30 a.m. case. Licensee Hyun D. Shin, Hyun's Market Incorporated, trading as Edgewood Discount Liquors. Premises are located at 3302 Edgewood Street. Licensee holds a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license, and this is a community-initiated protest of renewal of the license.
Counsel?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensee Hyun Shin, who is to my right.
Good morning. So is there anyone here representing the petitioners?
Yes.
Come on up, ma'am, please. Can you come up here, and we have to swear you in, okay?
Yeah. Anyone who's going to speak today, please come up and be sworn.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Everybody can do it at once.
You can do it all at once?
Yes.
Everybody raise your right hand. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do.
Okay, so when any of you come forward to speak, you have to identify yourselves, okay? So we'll start with you, ma'am.
Certainly. Jessica Morgan.
All right, Ms. Morgan, what did you want to tell us?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I was going to challenge the petition based on
Okay, well, I'm a little confused about a couple of things. So I was just handed a letter indicating that there's a memorandum of understanding between the community association and the licensee. Do you represent the community association?
I do not. I represent those that are outside of the community association but live in the community.
Okay. Well, I guess we better go with the challenge first then. Okay, excuse us for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. According to the protest that was on the website, and I believe it is accurate, there is a letter from Ms. Morgan, who had just spoke, along with a petition with 10 signatures on it. Those signatures, foremost, there's no addresses on them.
Well, mine do.
This is what I was given.
Oh, I don't know why. We have addresses.
Yeah, I don't know if yours was redacted or there are addresses there.
Okay.
Well, now I understand why you wanted to challenge it if you didn't know where they lived.
Absolutely. I don't know why the
I don't know what happened.
licensee
Was that
is
a
not
copying
provided with a
thing?
copy of the petition.
Pardon?
I said I'm not sure why the licensee is not provided with a copy of the petition. I'm not allowed to go to the liquor board. Well, I guess I could make an appointment, but I assumed that was what he was handed and what was on the website.
So what did you receive? Just that? But you didn't get the letter?
I got the letter.
Okay, but you got that without address. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Do you want to take a minute to look at the addresses?
no, I'm good.
All right.
Even still, with the addresses on it, according to 4-406 of the alcoholic beverage article, 40406A indicates a protest against a license renewal may be made by one, at least 10 signatories who are I, residents, commercial tenants who are not holders of or applicants for a license, meaning a liquor license, or real estate owners, and two, located in the immediate vicinity of the licensed premises. Two, or the board on its own initiative. So we have A1, whether they're residents. The petition does not indicate whether they're residents, whether they're property owners, or whether they have a liquor license or don't have a liquor license. But even more importantly is that most of these people do not even live, much less 200 or 1,000 feet from the establishment, which would be some test of immediate vicinity, live in Ashburton, which would be an extreme distance from this location. So I would ask Ms. Morgan to specify as to who signed.
I actually, am I able to come to?
Yeah, come on up, please.
Thank you. Ashburton is literally less than 100 feet from the location of the liquor store. It's across Liberty Heights, which is what separates Edgewood, the Forest Park area, from Ashburton. So these residents that signed the petition are not only within the community, but can walk to the liquor store from their homes, which is less than, in most cases, I think in all, less than 4 blocks, probably within 3 blocks of the location.
And were you aware of the requirement that they not hold licenses themselves?
Yes.
So none of them do?
None of them do.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else, Mr. Previs?
Yes, I would, there's no exact case that deals with the language of 4406A that says in the immediate vicinity.
They're waiting for you to bring that case.
I hope I never have to. There is, however, a case, Ray versus Mayor and City Council of Baltimore, 430 Maryland 74, 59 Atlantic 3rd, 545, 2013, which is familiarly known as the Walmart zoning case. And there, the Court of Appeals addressed the issue of standing in a zoning appeal being in the immediate vicinity and indicated that there were 2 classes of residents that may qualify for immediate vicinity. Those who were prima facie in the immediate vicinity, which is 0 to 200 feet, and those who were almost prima facie in the immediate vicinity, which is 200 feet to 1,000 feet. The court stresses that there is no bright line foot demarcation, and prior boards have gotten into political heat for trying to make a bright line. But in any event, 200 feet would be prima facie and 1,000 feet would be, there's just no way. So I would analogize that standing in the zoning sense and the use of the term immediate vicinity in the liquor board statute are quite similar. And I challenge whether, if any of the one of these signatories is more than 1,000 feet away, then we do not have 10, because they only provided 10, and they would not have this proper standing to bring this protest.
I'm going to reserve on that challenge because I want to hear from Ms. Morgan about your petition, because I think it's facially deficient, but I want to hear from you. So you're required to give us a specific incidence of harm during the last license year that was caused by this licensee. Come back up, please, Ms. Morgan.
Thank you.
And if, as I read your letter, I don't see that. So can you tell me where it is in the letter? I mean, you're not suggesting that the licensee is the person who murdered Mr. Williams, are
That
you?
is, no, sir, that's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
What I am, however, suggesting is that that murder took place within feet of this establishment, which has been a facilitator of loitering, and has been a sore for our community over 12 years with the loitering and the drug use in the immediate area.
You know that we have no history of violations for this.
I know that you have, I believe it's one last year, and no violations in that when they came out to review what had been called in terms of loitering, no one was then there.
Were those issues addressed at all in this MOU?
They may have been. However, I also know that that MOU was not shared with the association members at large. So I don't know to what degree the relationship and or that MOU had been drafted to where the community at large had input on how they felt.
Let me just say that the letter is dated April 21, so it's fairly recent. Do you have the MOU?
I don't, Your Honor. You have a copy?
Okay, do you want to take a minute and take a look at what they've
I would
agreed
love to. Never seen it.
Yeah, can you show her a copy of it? Because if it does address hours and security and loitering and things like that, it might resolve some of your issues. I don't know.
The problem is that the loitering is consistent and it continues. On my way here, I pass it every day and it is still there. And that's what we're dealing with. And so although I understand that there was even an MOU probably presented a couple years ago that I actually pulled because of a change in the operation, the reality is that it has not shifted and it has not changed, and it's literally steps away from the door of this establishment.
You know that we only have one 311 call?
I am very much aware of that. I'm also well aware that Baltimore City Police communicated to me that they're tracked if they want them tracked. Now, that may be hearsay. However, with the community continuously dealing with the continuous drug use, the criminality on that corner, this liquor store owner bears some and quite a bit of responsibility to ensure that they provide adequate security and obey the law as it relates to these individuals not being able to stand within 100 feet of their location. That's just not the case.
Okay, we'll take a look at the MOU.
While he's pulling that, if I could just add, I am a wife, I am a mother of 2 children. We are in a residential location, and I get it. They got a commercial license and were allowed at some point during a legislative hearing to be able to stay. But you can't go in their communities and have a liquor store within their residential area. Now, I get it. This is a liquor board hearing. We'll stick to what we need to stick to. But we are a community. We have children. The community is shifting to where there are more younger families. This is not going to be the end. And so we have an issue here, and we can discuss further, but there's more to be discussed and more to happen within our community. This is not what we want.
You understand that we don't create liquor licenses, the General Assembly does?
Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware.
Okay.
Is this what the memorandum is?
I believe so. It's an unsigned copy, but it appears.
Yeah, I would like a signed copy. I don't have that.
I don't have.
Do you have the does anyone up here have the MOU from the community?
Not yet.
Okay, so do you want me to review this?
If you want to take a minute.
May I speak? Excuse me, Chairman. May I speak why Ms. Morgan is, I'm also a petitioner,
Come on up and tell us who you are, ma'am.
while she's reviewing that. My name is Rhonda Wimbish. I am the president of the Stakeholders Mission, and what we do, hi, Mr. Risinger, how you doing? I know Mr. Risinger from coming to City Council a lot.
Everybody knows Mr. Rice.
What we do is we provide resources for vulnerable residents, specifically in Northwest Baltimore. My office location is on Liberty Heights, which is not too far, a few blocks down from the liquor store, because the liquor store is right there, a half a block into Liberty Heights. I live in the Ashburton community. I walk my dogs right there, and it is an ongoing problem. But what I wanted to talk about is the law. The Baltimore City Liquor Board, even though Baltimore City is an independent city, get that, you have the city charter, but Baltimore City is obligated to follow Maryland law. And in Maryland law, it states in Article 15 of the Declaration of Rights of Maryland's Constitution, it requires that all property be assessed and taxed uniformly. The state law requires all taxable property to be assessed based on the fair market value. An assessment is based on an appraisal and fair market value. This was established in 2014, September 4th, 2014. While we are here to discuss the operation and performance, I know your job, I've been here before. While we're here to discuss the operation and performance of the liquor store, this liquor store does not pay property taxes. And I have the redacted document that came from City Council where the address was intentionally redacted and a fake address was put in to prevent this liquor store from paying property taxes. And the liquor store has received a lot of favor. They have a new sidewalk down that was at taxpayers' expense. The city charter clearly says that every business must pay do their own. So there's been a lot of favor. We have no idea why for 12 years this solicitation has been allowed on this corner. But it is suspected, and this is for you all, if you would like to see the redacted document.
We don't have
it is suspected that it's more organized than just some random guys hanging on the corner. It's 12 years. But this, even if it wasn't a liquor store, this business should not be operational because the address, the physical address of 3302 Edgewood Road, Edgewood Street is not listed. I've contacted the controller's office of the state. I've contacted the controller's office in Baltimore City. I've talked to the OIG. No one can come up. The city council person who actually sponsored the bill has been voted out of office, but no one can actually explain how this commercial building, other than the fact that it is a member of KCRO and their lobbyist is Harris Jones Malone, is the only reason that this liquor store has been able to operate without paying property taxes. And that should not happen. That should be, no business should be doing that. So that is, if you would like the document, here it is. It's signed by all the city council members. It was adopted December the 5th, 2019.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Have you had a chance to look at the?
If I can just address, the alternate address for the property is 3500 West Forest Park Avenue. The tax bill is in that name.
As you know, we're not
I know, I'm just
dealing
saying.
with that. Okay. We've got enough to deal with.
Accusations were not accurate.
Yes. Ms. Martin?
Morgan.
I'm sorry, did I say that wrong?
Morgan, yeah.
Morgan, Ms. Morgan. Yes. Did you get a chance to look at it?
I did have a chance to look at it, and
Does
this
it
is.
address any of those issues?
It states in here what it should be addressing. Has it been addressed? No.
Oh, I understand that. It's
Yes.
brand new, yeah. So they have to do it now, but they weren't under this obligation until they signed this.
Well, no, that's not true.
Oh,
In 2019, there was another, this one I'm not familiar with, But in 2019, when the store was granted commercial license, they had an MOU in place as well.
And was that made part of their license?
There is no record of an MOU incorporated into the liquor license, for the record. I don't know what the commercial license is, but not the liquor license.
Well, I have it right here, and it was signed by So I recognize the language in the current one. But that
Yeah,
was
apparently it was not made a part of their license. But you know how this works. So if they agree to an MOU and it's made part of their license and they don't abide by it, we can violate them and then we can sanction them. But we had no notice of that.
okay.
We've never violated them.
Okay. Right. So where do we stand with that? Where do we file?
Well, you have to bring evidence of a violation to our inspectors, and they will investigate it, and then if they violate them, they'll come back here for a violation proceeding, and we can sanction them. But that's not, they did not make that part of their license. So the new one, I assume, is going to be part of their license.
Can?
Okay. Yeah.
So that, go ahead.
If I can clarify,
Mm-hmm.
this property was one of the 30-some properties that was part of the rezoning classification for liquor stores, and they were zoned commercial. I was not involved in that process. I'm actually the attorney saying that process is not appropriate. I'm challenging the entire law. However, this property was rezoned commercial, and it was probably entered into at that point. Just so you understand.
So it would not have come before us?
No, it would have been part of an ordinance to rezone the property from residential to commercial.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Counselor, if you can answer this, back then, when they did the master comprehensive rezoning,
Right.
was any elected officials or the community send a protest saying that they wanted that liquor establishment closed?
Not that I'm aware of, but I didn't represent them with regard to the rezoning. I believe they went straight to the councilman who put the bill in, put the ordinance in. I believe they got a letter of support from the applicable
Yeah,
community
because I mean,
association.
back then, if I was there, I mean, back then, if the community said they were against it and wanted it closed, it was our concept or idea that we would go along with the council in that district and they would dismiss the license, cancel the license back then.
Right.
Okay.
Not aware of any such thing.
All right. So, Ms. Moore, do you understand that you're telling me that they have executed this memorandum of understanding?
Yes, I wasn't sure which copy. I was just, Mr. Shin just handed me a pile of papers.
Because we have a letter from Sharon Bradford of the Forest Park Neighborhood Association indicating that there is such an agreement.
Yes,
Okay, and you're telling me that your client's willing to have that made a part of his license as well?
that's not a problem.
Okay. And we, in our record, our only issue today is whether we renew this license or not. And our record, we have no history of violations and only one 311 call during the last year. So we don't have a record on which we could revoke the license.
And we absolutely dispute any of the allegations. The murder was after closing hours, across the street and down the block.
Well, that's another issue. I
Yeah.
mean, whether they have any responsibility for that. Look, Baltimore has a history of violence in many, many places, and I'm sure that people who live in the vicinity of them are very upset about them. Whether they can tie it to a licensee is a legal issue that I can't resolve today.
Right.
So, on the basis of the record that's before us, go ahead.
Just a few questions. So, Mr. Previous, does your client dispute that there's a loitering problem?
Yes,
So he,
absolutely. He has cameras.
okay,
The
okay,
poli-
so that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
He has cameras.
Yes,
And he's required to have cameras.
yes.
Correct, as per his license.
Yes.
Right.
And he provided that camera footage to the police with regard to the murder that was raised. And in fact, the shooter can be seen in the camera, but the victim is not in the camera view. It's that far away and down the block. So it had nothing to do with his premises. He was closed for a couple hours. It happened at 11:45. He closes at 8, 9 o'clock. It just has nothing to do with him. We dispute that there's loitering. If there is loitering, we'd be more than happy to call the police. We are not the police department. The police would have to take action. We can cooperate and participate. The ordinance cited indicates that the loiterees are the ones who are in violation of the statute. The liquor board obligates the licensee to take an active role in making sure that loitering does not occur within 100 feet of the premises. And Mr. Shin is an active member in the community and takes that obligation very seriously. So we absolutely dispute any wrongdoing whatsoever. He's had a clean record for 16 years.
Well, I'm not suggesting at all that he's responsible for loitering. I'm just trying to understand. There seems to be a gap here that I'm trying to bridge, right? Ms. Morgan and Ms. Wimbush claim very specifically. Now, from my perch, I don't think it's specific enough to not renew, but it claims there are incidents of loitering. Your client is saying there's no loitering. So there's a big gap in fact here, and I'm just trying to figure out how we can bridge it. It doesn't have to be now, but, you know, again, we have to call on our ace, Mr. Alkheimer, perhaps, to try and reconcile this. But there seems to be a different view, and I'm just trying to understand that. And I'm glad to hear he's got cameras as required, but, you know, I don't know what the resolution is here.
What does the MOU say about, if anything?
Give me that other one. Assuming that this is the one that was entered into. Desire to work together to facilitate mutually beneficial relationship to address communications and to implement plan for problem solving its member residents, landholders, and businesses or Edgewood liquor stores. Raises issues of concern. These concerns will be conveyed to the other party's designated point of contact as laid out in this MOU. If the issue is not able to be resolved immediately and informally, the Forest Park and Edgewood Liquor Store will take the following: progressive steps to discuss the issue of concern. Discuss the issue at the next regular scheduled general meeting. Call an executive board meeting of the Forest Park to discuss the issues. Forest Park will provide Edgewood liquor stores with written explanation of the community concerns and proposed solution to the issues. And on and on. Revisit, schedule a meeting. Paint and polish interior walls, flooring, shelving, exterior painting and upgrades, completing the light exchange of all interior and exterior lighting to full LED. Hours of operation, Monday through Saturday, 10 to 9. Attend monthly general meetings. Monitor inside and outside of the store, and once install with the major of the Northwest Police Department so the police can access their cameras. Forest Park will also be present once this takes place to provide liquor store employees with real-time viewing. The point of contact for the Forest Park Community Association is Sharon Bradford, President, who can be contacted at this phone number and email address. Edgewood agrees to maintain its membership on a yearly basis and invest in community events such as National Night Out, making kind donations. Community is also asking the store front and back is maintained free and clear of debris on a daily basis. Does not want to see anyone standing and loitering out front. All addressed with the community. And they have a petition of 280 signatures in support of this establishment that they're working with the community, if I may make that license easy.
Okay. It'll be received.
That document is fraudulent, and that has been submitted to the OIG. Those signatures aren't real. It's an old document pasted together with people's ages on it. There's nothing legitimate about that document.
It's not really
With those signatures.
it's not dispositive of our issue today anyway, so. Okay, anything further?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Well, if you could you accept this redacted address of the address? Because if you're going to accept those signatures, this was a part of that same legislation.
Yeah, I don't know why you think that's relevant to our renewal, but if you want to give it to us, we'll take it.
You're not supposed to operate any business at all.
We don't have purview over who operates a
Then you
business
shouldn't.
under the law.
So where did this go to, the state?
I don't know. You'll have to
ethics or
contact your
the state?
attorney and find out. I am not your lawyer. I'm here to
But
determine.
the state regulates you, correct?
They do.
Okay, so I'll contact the state.
You can.
I'll contact Governor Hogan.
Please do. Okay. On the basis of the record before us today, which indicates that there have been, in the past year, no history of violations by the Liquor Board, no specific incident cited which is attributable to the licensee on the basis of the protest, and only one 311 call in that year, as well as on the basis of the fact that the Neighborhood Association has entered in an MOU, which will now be made part of the license. I'd vote to renew.
I didn't think you could accept the document without a signature.
I didn't say that
Well, you said it. You
they're
had
going to have to submit.
You said like as if it was evidence. It doesn't have a signature. That means it's not a.
If I could
contract.
clarify,
I know what evidence is. I've been a judge for 20 years, and it doesn't need a signature to be in evidence.
it has a signature, Your Honor.
I'm sure it will.
That copy
We're
that
not
Ms.
going to enact it until we have a signed copy.
Okay.
I don't know what this lady thinks she's telling me. Your turn.
Based upon the record before us, there have been no violations in the previous license year, no specific incidents alleged in the petition in the last license year. 1311 call. I too would vote to renew the license, but at the same time ensure that the MOU is part of that license to the degree I can, Mr. Blendy. And with that, would leave it at the ability to renew.
Yes, Mr. Chair, also based on the evidence and testimony provided today, I also agree with the chair and vote to renew the license.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to call exhibits for the record.
Please.
Community Exhibit Number 1, letter of support from Forest Park Neighborhood Association. Licensee, Exhibit 1, petition of support.
Thank you.
All right.
That concludes this matter before the board.
We're in recess until 1.
The board stands in recess until 1 p.m. We ready, Mr. Chair?
Yes, let's get started.
All right.
I can't.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to City Hall again. Brief preliminary reminder, everyone who is in here, unless you're up at the podium, please wear your mask as a requirement of City Hall. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's Thursday, April 28th, 2022 protest of renewal docket. My name is Nicholas Blendy. I'm the Deputy Executive Secretary, and I'm going to call the 1 p.m. case, which is a board-initiated case, and licensees are Ganga Prasad Adhikari, Ram B. KC, and Joshua A.P. Patel. Premises are located, 517 Broadway LLC, trading as Main Street Bar and Liquor. Premises are located at 3724 Eastern Avenue, and licensee holds a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, and this is a protest of renewal initiated by the local licensing board on its own initiative for this license. Mr. Chair?
For the record, Melvin J. Kudensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the licensees. Since this is a board-initiated protest, we don't, of course, contest any of the findings that we're going ahead on. I think basically an explanation that the individuals in their favor is that they've had no 311 complaints for that area. They also provided some petitions for people that are for them, but to their detriment. They certainly were not very good businessmen, that's for sure. They got themselves involved in the trouble with the fact it was the one person they finally got rid of. However, I think it's come to pass at this point that they finally found out that they haven't had enough with this business. There is a contract pending for sale, which, depending on the outcome of this hearing, they would then sell the business and then move on. Because I think they've understand that this is not really their cup of tea, so to speak.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'd like to hear from our chief about how they're doing, and then I'll come back to you, okay? So can we swear in Mr. Chrisomalis, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, nothing but the truth, and the whole truth, so help you?
I do.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As you know, they've been before us several times over the past couple of years, and we brought this to see what the status of things were. So can you fill us in?
Sure. Since this group has taken over the establishment, they've had some troubles, not just in one area, but in many. We've had COVID violations, outdoor tables without a license issues, after hours issues, minor issues. They're very cooperative. I think that we could work with them. I don't think that they knew the business at all when they bought the business, and I'm just assuming. I don't know their resume. They are cooperative and they do listen. It's just that I think they need a better security staff. I think they need a little bit of a better understanding of the rules and regulations. But I think it's an establishment we can work with, but we would have to set up a meeting and go through a security plan with them and an operational plan is what my recommendation would be.
Well, I assume you've seen this. I don't know if you have. Okay, so we were presented this morning with a letter from the Highlandtown Community Association, which indicates that they're not entirely pleased with the establishment, but that they want to meet with them and try to establish an MOU with them regarding their business operations, which is along the lines of what you're suggesting, Chief. Now, so you kind of threw a ringer in on that. So how quickly are they planning to get out of this business?
Well, there's a contract actually written and pending and probably will be signed next week, and they would get in here, file the application in
For a license
the new
transfer.
applications, that is, with the new numbers on it, in the month of May, and I would say that it would not get the new people involved. I'll call the chief, and then maybe they could set a meeting up with the Highlandtown people and let them sit down with them, because their intention is that, assuming the board approves of the renewal and the sale goes through, that they would, the new people will take over in their place.
Do you have any hesitation about us renewing for a short term to allow them to do that?
No, I don't think so. I think as long as they, I think that they've been coached on everything they've done wrong so far. We will keep a close eye on them just till the sale happens. And then I can talk to them off record about a couple of the things that they really need to work on.
Okay, commissioners have questions?
No questions?
Mr. Kudensky, are you, I assume it's appropriate to ask, are you involved at all in the transaction?
Yeah,
to
yes,
the,
I am. And
so-
what I'll do is, when it gets done, they've asked me to go ahead and process the new application. So I told them that starting in May, there's the new forms. They had the old ones, and I said, no, let's start with the new forms. And although they're not, they're surprisingly the same as the other ones. I was trying to find the difference. Same misspellings. But, yeah, I'll help them. I'll set up the meeting, get together with the chief, and then let the new people be forewarned is forearmed. And I noticed that the back of that letter is my petitions.
Yes, yes.
So I guess what I'm really asking is, just to confirm, assuming we approve the renewal, you will
I'll
ensure
shepherd it
that the
through.
contract purchasers are meeting with the community?
I'll try to do what I do with the other ones. As soon as we get it all signed, I will try to have them meet before the end of May with everybody and say, here are the concerns. The chief can say, here's things that other people did good, here's they didn't go, so go forward and let the Highlandtown Community Group, they had an MOU with the Highlandtown Community Group somewhere in there, it's in the file.
Well, we may have to revisit that. I guess the larger point is this is going to come back on a transfer, and my sense is that, at least from my standpoint, that I'd like to see an MOU to address the concerns that are based on the record and the concerns expressed by the chief.
Yeah, it would make the transfer go much more
Yeah,
smoothly.
and I remember reading it, there is probably one, not today or tomorrow, I think it's in one of the old files, there is an MOU with the Highlandtown Association. I remember seeing it when they were wanting to meet, but yeah, we'll be glad to do that.
Okay. Commissioner, anything else?
No, only question, Mr. Chair, with that regards to MOU, is that going to be tied to the new license?
Well, when we don't have that issue before us yet,
Okay.
because they're going to come in and ask for authority to transfer, and then we will address, if there's an MOU at that point, I'm sure we will see to it that it's made part of the new license.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Nothing further.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Chief and Mr. Kadensky. On the basis then of what the testimony we've received today, proffers from council on the record, my vote today would be to renew this license. Commissioner.
Yeah, based upon the evidence in the record, the proffer from Mr. Kadinsky, and the testimony from the chief, I too would agree to renew this license.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, based on the evidence and testimony provided today, I also agree with the chair and vote to renew the license.
All right, thank you. Ms. Russell.
Yes, like exhibits for the record. Licensee Exhibit Number 1, petition of support. Community Exhibit Number 1, letter of opposition from Highlandtown Community Association.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee and council will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings.
But using his television voice.
And for the record, the comptroller has to approve our application, and so he must be a fan of the typos. So,
Mr. Franchette?
the gubernatorial candidate himself.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, I think we have to sit around for a few more minutes before we can legally call the case at 1:45.
Okay. We'll recess till then.
The board stands in recess until 1:45.
Yeah, it feels that way, right?
All right, Mr. Blend, you want to call the case?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. The final matter on today's docket, the Board of Liquor License Commissioners meeting, protest of renewal docket, Thursday, April 28th, 2022, is the 145 case. Licensee names are Jackson Munoz and Marilyn Munoz, El Rincon Trocoleño, LLC, trading as El Rincon Trocoleño. Premises are located at 422 to 26 South Macon Street. Licensee holds a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, and this is a bit of a procedurally unusual one. As the board knows, this license was revoked in the 2020-2021 license year. There was a reconsideration motion that the board granted and returned the license subject to certain conditions. And because Alcoholic Beverages Article 4-406B, A2, provides plenary power to the local licensing board on its own initiative to initiate a protest of renewal. That is the genesis of this hearing, to check in on compliance pursuant to the board's order from its motion of reconsideration hearing.
Thank you. Do you want to identify yourself for the record, please?
Peter Previs, on behalf of the surviving licensee, Marilyn Munoz.
And I see you brought backup in case you screw up.
Brought back up Harry Previs on behalf of the licensee as well, and he actually did the reconsideration hearing, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't say anything that was out of school.
Okay.
He's here to correct me if I
Okay,
misrepresented
let's swear
anything.
your client in, okay? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Catch your breath.
Hi, over here. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And would you state your name for the record, please?
Marilyn Munoz.
Good afternoon. So, Mr. Previs, as you know, when we went through this process back in, I think it was October, on your motion for reconsideration, we imposed various conditions. I just wanted to run through some of them to see where we were. So you were to submit a substitute transfer application within a week.
Which was done. I had to convince Dad, Mr. Munoz, that he needed to sign certain things, which he ultimately did. So if it got here in a week or 10 days, I'm not 100% sure, but he did sign it all.
Okay. And submit proof of legal documents referenced by counsel at hearing within 10 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We did amended restated operating agreement, along with membership certificates indicating that the sole officer and member is Marilyn Munoz.
And under this new operating plan, she is to be at the establishment within 10 days, I guess?
Yes, so with the, in the cover letter where I submitted the substitute application, I had also specified the hours and days of operation, as well as her times that she's there. I am happy to report that basically the way that this place is being run and managed is Mom, who is the really good cook and is the draw for the restaurant aspect of this business, is there during the day, every day, is that correct? And Marilyn is there on the evenings every day, is that
Yes,
right?
every day
So
except
it's-
Wednesdays. We're
Except
closed.
Wednesday, you're closed? And it's either one or the other is there at all times, is that
Yes.
right? And I'm happy to report that the restaurant business is picking up, and we're hoping that the word continues to get out that Mom is a really good cook, and they have started providing some excellent food, and that the draw to the business will be the restaurant and not any of the other activity that might.
And have
cause
you
it.
been successful in keeping Dad away from the establishment?
Yes. Is that correct?
How's he entertaining himself these days?
He works for a marble and granite company now.
So he's keeping busy doing that, okay. Well, let me hear from the chief about, from our perspective, what's going on. I think you're already under oath. Yes. So tell us, since October, what's your perspective?
So we were tasked by the board to keep to monitor the location. Because of COVID and because of some internal issues that they had, the place really wasn't opened. So we have been monitoring it for about 60 days. I would say that they've opened up on a regular basis. We have received numerous 311 complaints. I believe, and I have Agent Perez here, which is this is his district. I believe he issued just one warning because it was a little loud, and after that, they were all unfounded. I think a little bit might have to do as evidence if no one's here to protest. I think a couple of the immediate neighbors thought the place was going to be shut down for good, and then were just maybe upset of the reconsideration. So they were just, as soon as they saw it open, start putting 311 calls in. We haven't noticed any major issues at all. She's very cooperative. She's always willing to work with us and ask questions, much night and day from what the operation used to be. I would suggest that we monitor it because we couldn't do from October that you instructed us to do it now for, maybe through the summer to keep a close eye just to make sure that it's operating properly. And that's it. And I did have a question for the licensee, if you don't mind. Your security company, is that a third-party security company?
I believe so. I usually talk to, his name is Sardine.
Right, and that's a security company, third party, and he...
Oh, it's not through, yeah, it's not with us.
You don't pay the security guards, he pays the security guards. Okay, and we can have a conversation on that off record.
Okay.
That's all I have here,
Does
sir.
the agent have anything to add? No, sir. Okay. Okay, thank you. Anything from your side?
No, Mr. Chairman, we do respectfully ask that you continue this, and we would go along with any recommendations of the chief inspector. Housekeeping details, I believe there might have been a disconnect between myself and Ms. Munoz. If the board grants this renewal, we will make sure that all of our paperwork is up to date. Since there is a change of more than 50% of the ownership, we do need to get an application in, which we would do by next Tuesday, and make sure that our renewals are up and current and running.
Okay. All right, thank you. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
Yeah, so that was my question. So you will be submitting, or you have submitted a transfer application, it hasn't been processed yet, right?
I haven't submitted it yet, pending
This.
the board. Yeah, we figured we'd save the $600 if,
Okay.
hoping that didn't occur. but
Right, in case, yeah,
we
well,
will
it makes
get-
sense, yeah.
We will get it in by Tuesday, because if we got it in 60 days ago or by this Tuesday, it's the same processing.
Okay, and I don't know that we're able to, based on what's in front of us, have the same order that requires the inspectors to inspect every week. So I think, for the record, I think that's important. I think we have a very narrow purview here to renew or not renew, right? So I think, but that's something, I guess, that can be done separately. I guess my question is, Ms. Munoz, is there anything you need from the liquor board? I mean, this is a very unusual situation, and so we're trying to be supportive, at the same time being sensitive to the conduct and to the community. Is there anything that you need from the liquor board that we can be helpful?
No, everything's been good. I've been trying to, comply with everything. And whenever they need something from me, I'm always there. I'm always literally there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. All right, on the basis then of the information that's been provided to us to date in the testimony today, as well as the proffer from council, I'd vote to renew this license. Ms. Munoz, you're to be congratulated for taking this on and turning it around the way you have. I hope that you are able to continue to do that, and it sounds like the re-emphasis on the restaurant portion is a good thing that will probably make your community a lot happier than they were in the past. So we will ask our inspectors to continue to keep an eye on things. And given the bad record of the past, you do not want to be before us on violations. So dotting your I's and crossing your T's is important. But for today's purposes, I vote to renew.
Yeah, based on the testimony and the proffer, I too would renew the license. And again, the reason why I asked the question is because we don't want to see you back here on a violation. So it's important that if you have questions or issues, you raise them, or Mr. Previs certainly knows how to do that, so we can help support you and support the community at the same time.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on the evidence and testimony provided today, I also agree with the chairs and vote to renew the license.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
No exhibits for the record.
I think that concludes this. Thank you. Good luck.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council and licensee will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings. And that concludes all the matters before the board, Mr. Chair.
So we're in adjournment until May 19, is that correct?
Yeah, the board will, if you so order, will be in recess until May 19th.
So ordered. Thank you. Have a pleasant day, everybody.